it's your man James, Mr. Sequential Treasures, back again with some more video action for you. Today, it's another time where we're going to step back into the past and into my personal collection. We're going to take a look at some sweet comics from the past in Why It's Great, which is where I take a comic from my collection that I love so much, and I tell you why I think it's awesome and why you should want to check it out for yourself. So let's get on into it. But again, before we start off, as I always do, I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you're having a good one. And let's just jump right into it, and let's not waste any time. So first, we'll get me off the screen here because you don't need to see my ugly mug. And then we'll share what we have for our pick today, which is survey says Superman #4, back from the late 80s reboot with John Byrne. That's this one by John Byrne and Carl Kiesel. And right here, just you can see it with this great cover. I just, just like the Web of Spider-Man issue I did last month. This is a great cover featuring spotlighting the villain. You don't really see the hero here outside of, Superman's tattered cape. And it's all focused on the villain, who is this character called Bloodsport. And, well, I mean, the name kind of pretty much reflects what you should expect from a guy like that. But just it's a great, and I love when they do this. I always did, even when I was a kid reading this stuff. I love when they would like jumble up the title of the book, like the character on the cover is actually interacting with the trade dress. That's just a fun thing. You don't see that so much anymore. They don't do that kind of cool stuff. But I hear something else you don't see. Hey, look at that! Look at all that body hair that Byrne put on him. I love that. Again, just little touches, little things that really help set an issue off. And I've been wanting to get into the Byrne Superman run because there's a lot of great stuff that's in there. So I thought this would be a good place to start. And let's just go on with it. And as we start off here, we can see it starts off around Christmas time because this came out in December of '86 is when it was on newsstands. And got Jimmy Olsen here with Lucy Lane, his girlfriend, and he's trying to use the boyish charms to get her to hook him up with some info on where she's working at, and she's of course not having it because modern women and all that, don't you know? And then that's when the spit hits the spam, and well, there you go, just right there. And what have I always said about superhero comics? You always got to start it off with some action, and I don't think it's more action than something like this right here in this last panel. So. And and it only gets grimmer from there because you see right here, just look at tearing through people. I mean, again, now remember this is like the late '80s, so there was that push at the time to get more gritty with this stuff, but you weren't used to seeing stuff like this in a Superman combo, with people getting like randomly gunned down, and then we meet our villain. Here's Bloodsport, and he claims he's a vet from Vietnam who sees people today just wasting their lives away. They're soft, they're flabby, they can't defend themselves in any meaningful way, and he feels that he and others gave their lives and more to protect them so that they could become these useless lumps, and so he wants them to like kind of change their ways, or else you're gonna die. So it says it right here. Me and Mickey didn't get our cans blown off in Nam so you could waste away your lives like this. You're on notice, Metropolis. No more senseless waste of the freedoms we died to protect for you. Clean up your act, big city, or Bloodsport will do it for you. And there you go. It's just a guy who, he sees the way things are at the time and thinks it's not right. And his answer to dealing with it is, well, just a little threat of violence. And of course, Jimmy calls in the cavalry, with the famous wristwatch. And then we got this great splash page here from when Superman arrives, and Jimmy informs him what's going on. But I love this, right from the very start, there's a little bit of light banter. He goes, "This better not be another flat tire, Jimmy," with a smile on his face. I mean, look at that look on his face, that expression. When's the last time you've seen in the comics Superman arrive on the scene of action, or even post-action, with a smile like that? You don't see that anymore, and yet this is the kind of Superman we need. That hopeful hero, that guy who's a shining beacon, and that beaming smile, even when he's joking with him because he thinks he's just calling him in for some trivial nonsense, and he drops it on him. He goes, "There's a madman loose, Superman, a cannon slinging lunatic who calls himself Bloodsport." And then as he's getting the lowdown from Jimmy, he gets more from Maggie Sawyer, who's the head of the Metropolis special major crimes unit they have, and she kind of gives him, if you want to see what's, it goes, "Captain Sawyer, so major crimes unit is in on this? What's going on?" He goes, "Easier if you just take a look for yourself, Superman, right over there." And again, here's something else I like. You can see it right here in this middle panel. Look at all the reaction to the crowd, and even the police. They're just like, they're so awed at his presence. He truly is like the hero's hero. You know what I'm saying? This is the Superman that he's admired and he's highly regarded by the people, and this shows you right here, even just him showing up on the scene and walking in, and they're acting like they've just seen the Rolling Stones or Jesus, and it's really, again, an aspect of the character you really don't see shown anymore in the books. And then Superman goes into he goes in to check it out, and I like this here with the flat coloring, and then just all one color for each individual in the carnage here. So it's gruesome, but it's not overtly in your face. And again, just that shot right at the bottom there, all blankness, and it's just all you see is Superman's expression. That says it all right there. Again, this is the kind of stuff like this is something someone who knows how to do proper storytelling. They set it all up. They didn't give it all away. They didn't throw it in your face and just had to say, well, let's just show them a gory mess. No. It's more inferred than it is shown, and yet his reaction, his visceral reaction, is the exact reaction you want to have. So Superman just wants to know what's going on, and and then Maggie sort of gives the lowdown of what happened and how Bloodsport he just falls into town, and he's no announcement, he's just no angry letters, he just started taking shots at people saying clean up your act, and so Superman deduces, well, that's not going to be an isolated incident then, and and he says, we've got to find this guy, and she's like, well, that might not be easy, but of course for Superman he says it is. He goes, to humanize perhaps, Captain. But with my infrared vision, I can follow the residual heat image of both Bloodsport and his bike. Get a cell ready, Maggie. Bloodsport is as good as caught. And again, just the look. Look at that look on his face. And I love the pose as he's taking off. And you can see he takes off with such speed. Her scarf is flapping in the air because he's taking off so quickly. Again, these are little touches that you don't think about maybe when you're reading comics, that make them so great, and yet this is exactly what makes superhero fiction work, when you can get stuff like this. Just the little details, like that. I love it. And again, just a determined. I mean, look at that look of determination. This is like a side to Superman you don't really see. So Jimmy goes to rush off to where the action's at, because of course, being the news hound he is, he's got to keep up. And so he jumps in his car, and we get a little comedy relief with his car that doesn't want to start. So he kind of uses his scanner, his police radio band scanner, to find out where the action's at, and calls for a taxi. And this is going to be kind of important later. So just keep watching it. It seems like it might just be a little bit of frivolous fluff, but it really is going to matter later. And again, here I love it. Just to remind you, it's Christmas time. A little bit of Santa Claus action. Just to remind you, if you didn't remember from the first page, here it is right here. This is happening at Christmas time. So then we catch up with Bloodsport, and he's causing more havoc, making more threats, and then Superman shows up. Okay, Big Mouth, you can let the lady go now and drop that pea shooter. Then I'll give you about 3 seconds to come up with a good reason why I shouldn't bowl a few frames with your head. Again, I love that. Just Superman trying to talk tough. Like Batman, he would just give you a look or a growl, and that would be all. Spider-Man, he'd be talking about a bunch of smack, when he was up. But here's Superman trying to play hard, and yet we know that whatever he's saying, he doesn't really mean it. That isn't Superman's way, but yet he's dealing with the guy and he's trying to like maybe throw a little intimidation tactic at him to get him to capitulate. Of course, it doesn't work, and he threatens the woman. And then I love this page. Not a single word said, just like right here. You can see the distance between them, the 1,000-yard stare, the squinted eyes. You know, Superman takes that step. It's like a classic Looney Tunes thing. Like one more step and I'll fire. And he takes that step, and you see he pulls the trigger, and there it is. The speed of Superman saving a life. There it is. See, he shows you Superman's powers without having to really do a whole lot to show you his powers. You just know how quick he was. That he was. This is like, again, the play right here. Faster than a speeding bullet. There it is, right there, folks. Right there in the catchphrase. And so, he just it looks like it's over before it even really starts. One punch, it's over. He tosses away his gun. And then he says, you go put him in a cell. He goes, and then with any kind of luck, into a psychiatric maximum security ward for the rest of your murderous life. And it's like, again, just telling Superman to go take a flying leap. That if we knuckled under when Charlie did that, you'd be eating rice cakes today. Instead, you can eat this. And we see for the first time something that Bloodsport can do, which is just call up out of nowhere, just create weapons. It seems just boom, there it is. So is this guy's power? Is he able to create weapons out of his mind? Is that what he does? Interesting thing to see. But we're going to learn more about that a little bit later. And then Superman, he isn't impressed. He says he's shocked to see what the blazes. That weapon just materialized in his hands. He's taken aback by what he just did, but he plays it off. Nice trick, Bloodsport, but you're wasting your time. There's no handgun on Earth that can harm me. And then and then he's like, well, that may be true, but this one is specifically made with you in mind, and it can kill you. And he gets hit, and oh, look at that! It's green energy. What is that? And it's like kryptonite. That thing fires kryptonite, needles of kryptonite. That's right, pal. Little slivers of the rock from your alien home planet you came from. Radioactive rock that knocks out your powers and makes you as vulnerable as anybody else. Say goodnight, Gracie. And it's like, there it is. Looks like it's the end. There's a little bit of too much confidence on Superman's part, perhaps. But oh wait, hold on. That's just when Jimmy Olsen arrives on the scene. Do you remember I told you it was going to play a part? And again, I just love this bit right here where he's now playing the hardball game, and just Bloodsport not taking. He goes, so some freckle-faced boy thinks he can take me? I used to eat twerps like you for breakfast in Nam. I'll bet you don't even know how to use that cannon. And then Jimmy just playing it off. Maybe not, but I'm betting all I have to do is pull the trigger. I figure with this kind of firepower this cap gun puts out, I shouldn't have to worry too much about my aim. And so it looks like he's got the drop on Bloodsport, but of course Bloodsport little sneak attack, and so he can escape. And Jimmy goes to help Superman, and then we're at the hospital, and he finds out that the doctor says they had to operate. They removed the particle that was embedded in Superman, and it was a very difficult thing because of his invulnerabilities, and they had to actually use kryptonite to weaken the area enough so that they could actually sew it up. So that's how strong Superman's invulnerability is. And he goes, but he's never experienced the kind of physical trauma a bullet wound causes. I can't begin to guess the effect it will ultimately have on his alien physiology, not to mention his psychology. See, this is something that one of the few things I thought was interesting in this, and they didn't really get too into it, was how would that affect someone like Superman who have come so close to death by something that everyday normal humans had to face, death by a handgun. Granted, his had kryptonite in it, not bullets, but it's still the same effect. And so how would that affect Superman, who himself has laughed off getting shot with conventional bullets, all this time? You'd think that would have some kind of an effect on you mentally. And I wish they would have shown a little more of that, but they didn't really get into that here. And here's Superman getting ready to go back out, and Jimmy trying to tell him you can't go out because you still doctor says you got to relax and take it easy. And he goes, but I can't just lie around and wait to feel better. Nothing like this ever happened to me before. I have no idea how long it will take me to fully recover. Meanwhile, Bloodsport is still on his rampage. and the fact that he has access to kryptonite casts this business in a whole new light. It means he's not acting alone, and I know who's behind him. So who is behind him? Who does Superman believe is the mastermind behind Bloodsport? Well, who else, of course, but Lex Luthor. But even Luthor isn't happy with this, because his whole plan for this, he tells, he goes, what do you mean not unexpected? You assured me this Bloodsport fellow could be controlled. I think you took me too literally. True, we were able to prepare and direct Robert Dubois, but I warned you his psychological profile suggested a danger zone. By playing off his Vietnam fixations, we ran the risk of triggering precisely the kind of rampage that is now occurring. And here we are. This is what it was all about. He created Bloodsport here to target Superman, not civilians. And the guy's saying, well, even so, that might be just what he needs to do to draw Superman out. Although, unfortunately, these are drastic methods that he's using. And, Luthor is like, how many dead so far? 40, 50? Well, no more. Terminate him now. And you see, there's the ruthlessness of Luthor. He planned this whole scheme, and now it's blowing up in his face. And so, to save face, he's going to kill the very stooge he is now sent out to take care of Superman because it's not going the way he planned. Again, just a classic case of the villain getting caught up in his own web. So then we get back to Bloodsport and Superman. Superman finds him, shows up, and then you can see here Superman goes, he goes, come back to let me finish the job. He goes, maybe. I'm still so weak and dizzy from the kryptonite and blood loss. That landing had all the grace of a wounded duck. He said, I like that. But look at the expression on Superman's face. He's trying so hard not to show pain or weakness. And then, he comes stepping in. And he lets go with some blasts, and you can see here, even though these aren't kryptonite, it hurts. So you can see this is the thing that being injured has done. Superman is now more vulnerable than he's been before. Even with his invulnerability, he's still feeling this pain way more. And he calls up some more. He goes to town. But again, Superman, I love this. He's so defiant. He goes, it's all over for you. You're a dead man. Bloodsport, if I had a nickel for every clown who's told me that, I could balance the national budget all by myself. Battered and bashed I may be, but that's a long way from dead. This is there it is, the heroism, the honor of that Superman possesses. He's risking his life even in an incapacitated state. He's putting his life on the line for others, and he's just defiant in the face of this maniac. So he goes off trying some more, and then all of a sudden, some fire comes his way. And what is it? Oh, well, it's Luthor's guys. One false move and you get blown to kingdom come, courtesy of Lex Luthor. And Superman kind of sees this and he goes, everyone thinks Luthor is just an honest businessman, but he's the only one on Earth with access to kryptonite, so he must be backing Bloodsport. But it seems Bloodsport himself doesn't know that. It also seems Luthor's decided to corral his trigger-happy agent before any more damage is done, once again making himself look like the hero to the people of Metropolis. Well, he's doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, but I might as well lend a hand. See, and again, there is more of that heroic standard of Superman. He knows this is all a feint by Luthor. He's the one to put all this in motion to begin with, and yet even so, he's willing to let him appear that Luthor is a hero trying to help save the city too, if it stops this guy, because to him, that's what matters. We got to stop this guy's rampage. And even if that means making Luthor look good somewhat, I still got to do my part and make this happen, even if it helps Luthor out in the end. Again, that's just the heroic ideals of Superman. So then Bloodsport calls in some more heavy artillery and takes out the tank. And then Superman, he's angered. There was no way to get the passengers of that tank out before he teleported that bazooka into teleported. Wait a minute, and now he's figured something out. What is it? What is this Man of Steel thought of? What is the answer that he has now come to? Well, we're about to find out. So there is all of a sudden there's a burst of some kind of energy around Bloodsport, and then when he calls in his weapons, He calls in and he goes, I don't know what your game you think your game is, but it's going to take more than a light show to what? And then the guns just disintegrate, and he doesn't understand what's happening, and he goes, I happened Bloodsport. I realized you weren't creating those weapons as I first thought. You were teleporting them from another location. So I used my heat vision to ionize the air around you, and that scrambled your teleportation gizmo. And look at that, just again, a little flick of the fingers, boom. I mean, as big as this guy is, as tough as he would probably be against, a normal human, against Superman, just a little flick of his fingers and you're done. I love that. But then we get down to some serious business. So like now that it's all over, he goes, surrender and we'll help, and we'll find a doctor to help you get over the hell you went through in that useless war. And like, don't patronize me, Superman. You forgot one thing, Superman, the power pack that operates my weapons transporter. I've primed it now, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a dead man's switch, Superman. It'll fire if I take my hand off it. And that's what I'm going to do, Superman. The blast will cover almost 10 square miles. You'll probably survive, Superman. But it'll take a big chunk out of Metropolis. A big chunk of Metropolis is going to get turned into the bottom of a box of shake and bake. And I just love this little touch here with the skulls and the iris. That this guy is just that fanatical, that crazy, that he just death. He sees nothing but death. And again, this is think of our world today. How many people would be in this, do the same exact thing you see Bloodsport here doing? How they would just destroy everyone and everything if it meant getting what they wanted. If I don't get what I want, I'll just burn it all down. Again, a very telling thing. How this has become much more salient today than it was back in 1986. There were crazies like this perhaps, but they seem to be a lot more of them today. And again, so like this like speaks out from over the decades to me, this whole scene right here. But wait a minute, all of a sudden, what's this? Someone shows up, and it's a guy named Mickey. And who's Mickey? Well, if you guys remember at the beginning, that's what Bloodsport were talking about. Me and Mickey were in Nam. We got our butts blown off for you people, and you're just wasting your lives, remember? So here it is, the Mickey that he was talking about. And he kind of brings him down. He goes, it's me, Bobby. Jimmy Olsen came and got me. He told me what you've been doing. It's got to stop, Bobby. But the war for freedom, that's all finished, Bobby. We lost that. And now America just wants to forget. We want to forget, Bobby. Please let it end. And that's where that's where we learn the big secret behind Bloodsport. It isn't Luthor's involvement. It isn't how his powers work. It isn't even why he's so violent. It's this is the real secret behind everything. And he goes, that's Michael Dubois, Superman. He's Bloodsport's younger brother. He's the one who went to Vietnam, not Bloodsport. Something Bloodsport said when he first showed up kept going through my head. He said, me and Mickey didn't get our cans blown off in Nam. The more I thought about it, the more I realized Bloodsport didn't get his can blown off anywhere. So I took that pop gun and I picked up at the bowling alley and headed over to the local FBI offices. They ran a check on Bloodsport's fingerprints and discovered they belonged to the name of a Robert Dubois, a known draft dodger. When he got his induction notice, Bloodsport took off to Canada. And because he didn't believe, and not because he didn't believe in that war, he ran because he was afraid. So here you got a guy who's running around all macho with guns and threats and violence, and yet in the end, he's been the coward all along. Because when he was called upon to make that sacrifice, the sacrifice he talked about him and Mickey making in Nam, he ran. He ran out of fear, not because of principle, not because of an unforeseen circumstance, simple fear. He's a coward at heart. And so basically all that he has done is just to act out against his own fears, his own self-loathing. This is the secret that he carried the whole entire time. We're seeing him, we're thinking he's this tough guy, he's this Rambo-esque type dude who just wants to, he shows the world how bad he is, but he's only doing it because he knows deep down he's a coward. Because when he had a chance to prove how tough he was, he ran. And that's where we get to the end here. He goes, Mickey took his place, passed himself off as Bobby, and lost both arms and legs for his trouble. Bobby Dubois went right round the bend when he found out. He's been in and out of psychiatric hospitals all over Canada for the last 12 years. Then about 6 weeks ago, he just disappeared, and Bloodsport turned up in trouble. So there it is. The big secret reveal for Bloodsport isn't about how he was financed or who was behind him or any of that stuff. It's about a guy who suffered a trauma because he was a coward, and someone who he cared about had to pay the price for that, and he couldn't live with it. Just a beautiful, beautiful single done in one story here. And I love this last bit here, dedicated to the names on the black wall and those who remember them. That black wall, of course, referring to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. And I like that they threw that little nod right in there. That was a nice touch. But yeah, this is just great stuff. I mean, so many great scenes. Like I said, and when you reach the end, the revelation, you don't see it coming. And I think that's what I loved about this story more than anything was it actually surprised me in the end. I didn't expect it to end that way. That he just gave in because his brother showed up and he was exposed as a coward, and that just took all the fight out of him. And again, it shows you again this is the kind of stuff you don't see in the Superman books anymore. Where he's using his head to win battles, not necessarily his fists. And I liked the way Byrne handled this. Again, it shows he had a real understanding of the character of Superman, both in the way Superman acted as well as in how the events unfolded that he was dealing with. He really understood the psychology of the character, and it worked really well. He created a credible threat in Bloodsport with the kryptonite gun, and at the same time, he also made Bloodsport in the end probably a sympathetic character because we've all been afraid. We've all done things we were ashamed of that we did out of fear because we didn't react, and maybe someone else did pay the price as you see here in this scene. But I thought it was a very well done story. It's just the kind of like I said, it just perfectly exemplifies why Superman's heroic standard was so good. And again, just the art in here is just absolutely great. Kessel was always a great inker on Byrne. Again, the expressiveness in the faces, whether it's his rage or Superman's shock, or that one right towards the beginning here, right here. I mean, that's just good old fashioned comic book artistry right there. I mean, just the look of revulsion at what he's seeing, the utter just, I mean, he looks like he's almost going to be sick. And, for someone like Superman, that would take a lot, I would assume. So just a really great story. And I said, and the fact that this issue came out at Christmas time, in 1986, just, it makes it even more special to me. Again, so many things they've shown here. Superman being, seen as almost like a rock star or something, in the city. These are all little things you don't see anymore in the book. And you really kind of miss that. But I love the way they handled this. This Byrne is a master. Just like I said, his Superman and FF runs are probably two of his crowning glories. And this issue here is just a classic example of that. This Superman #4. So yeah, go ahead and I would say anybody, if you wanted to see some good, if you got anyone who is interested in Superman or likes Superman, or if you want to check out Superman, you want something good to check out, right here, the Byrne reboot back in like late '86, early '87. That's a great series to work with. Like I said, in this issue, it's it's a done in one story. The early issues of the run were all single issue stories, which is great. So you didn't have to go out and buy a treasure trove of issues to keep up with the story. You just got a great story all in one issue. Look at how much action you had in that issue. Look at how much drama, intrigue, all kinds of. You saw Superman, one looking like he could just take him without a problem, and then the next second he's down on his knees because he's injured. All kinds of great stuff happens in here, and again, all surrounded by Christmas time. So it's just a perfect issue to me, a perfect Superman story, for the era and just for all time, really. So I would definitely say check it out. It shouldn't be terribly expensive. Probably if you want to get a very nice copy of this, a high grade copy, probably like a $10 to $12 book. it's got a little bit of price on it, perhaps, but that's because it is the first appearance of Bloodsport, and it is John Byrne's early in the run. So that might put a little more on it than some other issues. But again, this is just a great issue. Lots of action, lots of drama. I can't recommend it highly enough. So if you ever were a fan of Superman, you got to check it out. It's really great stuff. And there you go, Superman #4 from 1986. Classic stuff. And like I said, to me, it's just quintessential Superman. That's the hero. That's his heroic standard. That's what he's all about. He's about saving lives and even having mercy for his enemies, even if they're not deserving of it. And I just and again, the level of violence in the issue was actually, again, a little bit shocking for the time. You weren't used to seeing that kind of violence portrayed in mainstream superhero comics at the time. And so this is a really big issue, and like I said, a lot of fun too. Like I said, that cover, with them blasting the Superman logo on the cover, like I said, that just brings a touch of fun to it, the classicness of comics that I've always enjoyed. But yeah, Superman 4. Anybody, if you can give it to a kid, you can give it to anybody, and like I said, if they have any kind of love for Superman or comics in general, they'll enjoy the hell out of this. So I thank you for joining me today. I hope you got some fun out of this. I hope you enjoyed a little trip down memory lane with me, as always. What did you think? Have you read the Superman 4? What did you think of Byrne's run with the book back in the late 80s during the reboot? I want to hear what you got to say. So please drop me some comments down there and tell me what you're thinking, because I want to hear what you guys got to say. And also, if you like what you saw here, please give a like to the like here, and it help the algorithms for the channel. And also be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so you don't miss all this great content I'm putting up here. And help grow the channel. And as for what's coming next, well, like I said, I've got sequential thinking piece. I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to try to get this weekend. I hope I can. I just have to see how some things shake out in my personal life there, but hopefully I can get that in. And then on top of that, probably another What's in the Box is coming up, which should be a lot of fun. And maybe even a crowdfunded coolness live stream before the end of the month, because I got one of my guys told me that they're shipping out stuff now, and mine was shipped. So we'll see. So got some good stuff coming up down the pipeline here. I hope you can be there for that. So make sure to subscribe. I thank you for joining me today. And until next time, take care.